Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness into the light, from death to immortality. Shanti, Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness into the light, from death to immortality. Shanti, Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness into the light, from death to immortality. Shanti, Shanti. From the unreal to the real, darkness into the light, from death to immortality. Shanti, Shanti.
Let us all take a deep breath together and say the familiar syllable, Om. And let's keep it going with our breath for a while. Om. Because that's the opening of the heart sound. Welcome to Unity in Ashland. In case you think you made a mistake, if you walked into some kind of a time-space warp, it really is Unity in Ashland. And I am Norma Burton, the minister here. And every once in a while we like to honor different world traditions. So we chose to honor Ganesha today from the tradition of Hinduism because it's near the time of Ganesha's birthday. So in India right now, there are huge celebrations going on with millions of people flooding the streets with giant statues of Ganesha, taking him down to the rivers and down to the ocean to be bathed, to be cleansed in the ocean, so that he can guide them another year into justice for all. There are many similarities between Ganesha and Unity teachings. To name just a few, Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. In Unity teachings we talk about denying that the obstacles can get in our way for God's blessings to flow to us. Ganesha is the pitcher of prosperity. And in Unity we talk about God wants prosperity for us and wants us to have an abundant, good life. Ganesha is the bringer of oneness. In fact, he is the one. So within him, great diversity is brought into oneness. And that's something we really love about Unity too, is that we welcome diversities of all kinds and see everyone into oneness. And in fact, oneness is such a popular idea right now, but it's been coming up through Unity for a long time. And in Unity we say that we can be one. We can be one with the divine. And the Ganesha teachings say that too. And finally, enlightenment now. You know how we change our peace song to say, there's peace on earth right now. Well, Ganesha brings this thought too, that right now is the moment that we can embody the divine. So there are many similarities between Ganesha and Unity teachings. So today, allow yourself to take a dive into another culture, into a deep and worshipful space, knowing that the face of God comes in many, many forms all over this planet. So today, let us lift up our spirits and be lifted as we honor the great Lord Ganesha. To open our honoring of Ganesha, Julian is going to come and lead us in a special mantra that's always said at the opening of rituals in the Hindu faith to honor Ganesha. Something that all of you can sing with.
Welcome to the Temple of Ganesh. A simple and powerful chant to Ganesh is Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. A very loose translation is Om, salutations. Everyone wake up! Gam, the secret power sound of Ganesh. Ganapatiye, another name for Ganesh. And Namaha, which might be translated as Yo, Ganesh, you the God. The pronunciation is easy, so let's run through it once together with call and response. Om, Om, Gam, Gam, Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Namaha, Namaha. Now we'll chant it together. Number 6. They're all very nice. We will ask for the obstacles to be removed. Find the chant. No.
What track number?
Track number 6. Let's just go ahead and do the chant together without the CD. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Ganapate Namaya. Lord Ganesha, we welcome you. It is at your command that Lord Brahma created the whole universe. It is at your command that Lord Vishnu maintains the universe. It is at your command that Lord Shiva destroys the universe. And Agni, Lord of fire, burns in all three worlds. At your command, the sun journeys across the heavens. The Lord of the air instructs the winds. The Lord of the waters controls the tides. Indeed, Ganesha, you pervade the entire universe. A stranger to India might find it hard to believe that such powers as I just described could be attributed to a pot-bellied, elephant-headed Hindu god with one plump hand filled with sweets and improbably riding upon a mouse. Indians, on the other hand, need no convincing that Ganesha pervades the universe They see him everywhere. He's on rickshaw advertisements and on wedding invitations. He's on protective medallions and on the sides of airplanes. He's on cyber cafe ads and on Bollywood billboards. Ganesha is inescapably present everywhere in India. And as a deity, he presides over every religious ritual of the Hindu calendar and so many aspects of daily life as well. Whenever a foundation stone is laid in a building, or a first step is taken on a journey, a marriage or a birth, or when the crops are planted, or when the harvest is brought in, Ganesha, the Lord of beginnings, is always invoked. Even as you would prepare the meal every day in your kitchen, you would chant to Ganesha as you poured the rice into the pot and say, "Out of the curled trunk and great belly, free my family's path of obstacles and hindrances." They've been singing that exact chant since 3000 BC, when the elephant-headed deity, as Lord of farming and Lord of the waters, guaranteed the success of the food growing and of healthy life. Indeed, Ganesha has permeated the entire spectrum of Indian existence since almost before memory. Today, as you hear about Ganesha, I'd like you to think about the similarities that you might be feeling with Ganesha and perhaps another deity like Yeshua, Jesus. And tune in to how Ganesha is similar to your own faith. I'd like us to experience, like the Hindu people do, a form of worship. Lots of times in our modern New Thought settings, we don't let ourselves enter deeply into worship, And worship is a state of praise, a state of elation, in which our souls can sing forth to the divine all around us and the divine within us. So allow your soul to get into this groove of praise and worship and feel the depth of the human spirit that has celebrated these things and is celebrating them right now all over the planet.
Amen.
So on that note, we have some kirtan singers with us today that are going to be led by Kimberly, who's actually spent a lot of time in India, and they're going to be leading us, all of us, in this kind of singing that is so familiar to us, when we go to kirtan celebrations, but not so familiar to us doing it here in unity. So I hope you really enjoy lifting up your souls. Pardon? Yes, it's true. As they come up, as the kirtan, are they coming up here? They're going to sit there and you're coming, okay.
So, they'll do that and we'll sing. We're going to sing one kirtan that you don't necessarily have to respond to. We'll be singing it while you're bringing your rock or shell up to the front. And then when you sit back down, we'll sing another Ganesh chant that is on this piece of paper, a real simple one that you can respond to. Kirtan is a call and response kind of singing. So, Norma's going to give you a little more information about that.
Is my mic on?
My God.
Is it on now? Fine.
Not getting a signal at all.
Pardon me?
Not getting any signal from you at all.
Not getting any signal.
But we can hear you.
We can hear you. Well, if you do something.
So you see our two helpers standing before us here. And this part of our ceremony, as Kimberly was saying, is you giving a gift to Ganesh. You've been holding these stones that were given to you as you came in and infusing them with your prayers, with your thoughts about what obstacles there might be in your life or the life of your family, friends, the life of people in the world. These are actually gifts to Ganesha. These prayers of your heart, Ganesha wants to receive them. Ganesha wants to remove the obstacles in our lives. So these stones represent obstacles that you may, for whatever reason, still be holding on to. But today, in this very moment, it could be a crossing over point. As you walk up to this altar and see the Lord Ganesha, who symbolizes the great good God of this universe, turn your burden over. Allow your obstacles to be removed. And so, as Kimberly said, the singing will be going on, and you'll be coming forth row by row to offer your obstacles for them to be removed.
working out. Like working out. I wanted to wait until this point before we blessed the children so that they could enjoy a different kind of ceremony with us. So it was wonderful to see the children coming up and laying their stones too. At this point, I'd like to tell the children a little story about Ganesha. So would you like to come up and sit here and I'll tell you a story about Ganesha? This is a wonderful book all about Ganesha. I'm going to have the kids look at some pictures while I'm telling them the story. Well, did you know that elephants are considered to be very close to humans? Did you know that? They feel a lot of things just like humans do. I think that's why we love to hold them and hug them so much as our little animals like that. But also humans have always loved to be close to elephants. Did you know that sometimes, like when a mother elephant is having her child be taken away, that tears actually roll down her cheeks out of her eyes? So elephants feel very deeply, just like we do. Well, there's a story about a mother named Parvati, and she didn't have a child, but she was going for a bath in the river, and she wanted some protection. And so she thought, I'll make myself a child. So she took some sandalwood perfume off of her body, and she mixed it with some dirt out of the earth. And you know how gods and goddesses can do magic things. She formed a little boy out of this combination of things. And she was so delighted with him, and he stood and guarded her at the edge of the river. What Parvati forgot to do was tell Lord Shiva, her husband, who was a god, about this, what she was doing. And so when he came to the riverside to find his wife, he saw this boy that he didn't know, and he thought he was from somewhere else and that he shouldn't be there. And so he called his guards to come and get the little boy. And they came and they got into a big scuffle, and this is a terrible part of the story, but the little boy's head got cut off. So, you know, children watch stuff like that on TV. So way back then they had kind of blurry, violent things. But the mother who had made this little boy was so upset, as you can imagine. She started crying and crying and screaming and saying, I need my son back, I need my son back. And so Shiva, the father, got all upset. He didn't realize who this was and what had happened, so he rushed around trying to find a head. And along came an elephant, and they asked the elephant if he would give his head to become part of this little divine boy. So the head of the elephant came and attached itself onto the body of the boy. And so that's why you see in the pictures and up here when you look at Ganesha, he's got a human body and a head of an elephant. That's how it all came about. And so, because Parvati was trying then to get the husband to say he was sorry and make up for this big, giant mistake, she asked him if, in front of every single ritual that would ever be done from then on throughout time immemorial, that Ganesha would be honored. And Ganesha would be considered at the beginning of everything, and would be the one that would be remembered throughout all time as having brought together a sacrifice so that humans could live. So that's the Lord Ganesha story and how he came about. So thanks for listening to it, and I'm so glad you brought your elephants today. And you can go out with your teachers now and have some more wonderful lessons in Sunday school tonight. Let's bless the children with our energy. So we pour out our loving energy on them and we say, divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am.
Let's do that again.
That's the trickster too, I guess.
It's like shining in you.
All the children are going out. I just want to talk to you about the beautiful altar. When you came up, you noticed that on the altar is prasad or prasadam. And this prasad, is that how you say it? And in Hindu ceremonies, there's always food offerings, but particularly for Ganesha. Ganesha is the receiver of offerings of sweets, and especially honeyed milk. So these sweets are up here being offered to Ganesha. But whenever an offering of food is made to a deity, it has a special energetic blessing upon it. And so afterwards, it's sort of like communion. We'll be carrying these trays to the back, and when you leave here, make sure to take some of the prasad into you and be blessed by this blessed food. Well, you have brought your objects that represent the obstacles forward. And in this moment, we want to say a prayer of blessing. So join me as we thank you, Ganesha. Thank you, great Lord of new beginnings. Thank you, remover of obstacles. With our hearts open and empty, we now stand before you, ready to be free. We can feel our bodies, our minds lightening, as indeed you come to us and lift our burdens from us. And in this moment, we take just another few thoughts to name what we have laid down here to ourselves, to name them in our hearts. I lay down the burden of this. I lay down the burden of that. I lay down the burden of sickness. I lay down the burden of lack of resources. I lay down the burden of not having a home. I lay down the burden of loved ones being far away. I lay down the burden of needing money for school. I lay down all of my burdens right now, Ganesha. We give them over to you. You can even shake your hands out a little bit or stomp your feet. Almost like a herd of elephants. Ganesha's coming. Give them over to you, Ganesha. We praise you and thank you for your care for us is adequate. Your care for us is plentiful. Your care for us is enough. Your care for us is real. We turn over all of our needs to you. Thank you, Ganesha. So in Hinduism and Buddhism, there's a little talk that is given, much like in our tradition, and it's called a Dharma talk. And so I'd like to talk to you about Ganesha a little bit today. Thanks.
Good. That'll make it better, huh? Okay. Well, did you know that not all Hindus are Indian and not all Indians are Hindu? Just like in this country, there's a great diversity of religions and faith traditions in India. But did you know that everyone in India, no matter what their faith tradition, honors Ganesha? He's sort of an across-the-board kind of dude. He's universally loved, I think, because he's such a symbol of goodness and good fortune. Even if they don't see him as a god, he evokes such love because there's nothing forbidding about him. He only has endearing aspects and affectionate names like the big-eared one, the single-tusked one, because he at one point sacrificed his tusk to write the Holy Scriptures, dipping it in ink. The big-bellied one, the pitcher of prosperity. Or it might be his benign and beneficent presence that's described in names like the remover of obstacles, the granter of boons, the guarantor of success. For all of these reasons, Ganesha is a symbol of divine love all over the Far East. Some of his qualities are he's the Lord of success. Not surprisingly, this symbol of the Lord of success attracts the deep devotion of the business community in India. Whether a grocery store owner or a venture capitalist, neither of those would ever dream of engaging in a financial speculation without paying homage and going to the temple of Lord Ganesha and placing coins on his altar or stamping his image on the new bank account ledger. Indian entrepreneurs everywhere pray, "Great Lord Ganesha, I stand before you, not knowing which way to turn. I lay all my confusions at your feet. Fill me with your judgment and discernment." Can you relate to feeling this way when you're about to start out on a new business venture? Not knowing which way to turn. Am I doing the right thing? Should I really invest in this? Ganesha gives guidance at these important moments, which leads to right decisions and more prosperity. Ganesha is also the Lord of learning. So when a school student, for example, prays to Ganesha before an exam, some believe that if they place a medallion of Ganesha over a closed book and then open the book, that they'll open to the exact page that the exam questions will be based on. So students all over India say this prayer to Lord Ganesha: "You who are perfect in knowledge, you who are absolute in awareness, who are supreme in intelligence, guide me in my hour of need." Doesn't that sound like a prayer that you might have said before an exam? Ganesha is about prosperity and the good life. There are some in India who don't care about these other aspects of Ganesha I've just talked about and just focus on his big belly. The picture of prosperity. He's a sign that you can still be spiritual even if you like the good things in life. In a country where so much emphasis is put on asceticism and where there is so much poverty, you can imagine why the celebration of Ganesha's birthday is such a fun time, because it's a time when everybody indulges, everybody. They eat sweets, they drink the honeyed milk, and they all feel like they have a very good life. In fact, they make Ganesha statues out of food all the time, like they might make him out of sugared almonds and raisins. There was even a 12-foot high Ganesha made out of green bananas. So Ganesha can be fashioned from any substance. That not all gods are like that, you know. Some of them don't want to be tarnished or something, but he is infinitely adaptable and accessible. In the most humble way, he might consist of a single triangle made out of mud with a red
streak of clay across his third eye, where in a richer home he could be carved out of expensive material with diamonds studded all over him and silk surrounding him. So each image would hold the same level of sanctity in India. That's a great thing about Ganesha. Whether he's made of cow dung or diamonds, he's the quintessentially egalitarian God. So to the Indians, he transcends all religious hierarchies, all castes, all class and economic distinctions. So he's the great restorer of justice. In fact, statues of him have actually historically led the way in many social change movements over there. For example, in the late 1800s, the British rulers of India had forbidden the Indian people to gather in public to do their rituals. Can you imagine? When you think about what India is like? Well, similar things happen in this country, you know. The Native Americans were forbidden to gather and do their ceremonies and rituals. So in 1890, a man named Tilka spread the word. Somehow throughout all of India, they spread the word. On Ganesha's birthday this year, let's all bring out our statues and bring out all of our wonderful honorings of Ganesha, and let's march to the waterways. Let's take him to the river. Let's take him to the ocean. So the British didn't know about it ahead of time, of course. And on the day, Chaupati, of his birthday, millions upon millions upon millions of people flooded the streets and carried Ganesha to the rivers, once again restoring that wonderful ritual. Well, the British couldn't quell it, of course. And it was the beginning of the revolution that brought down colonialism. So Ganesha is the great remover of obstacles. There are no obstacles to Ganesha because he represents the oneness of all things. And as an elephant, you can imagine that he is able to move great obstacles. You know, elephants, time immemorial, so strong that they could move things in the forest, big logs that needed to be moved, or big things, big stones out of the way. So Ganesha really has the power to move obstacles. And Ganesha is faceted in his bodily form, too, as we can see here. You know, Hindu philosophy is obsessed with defining a single unifying principle in the universe, kind of like unity, New Thought people are. In Hinduism, they name it Brahman. And that's the formless reality through which expresses itself in millions of forms, though. So indeed, did you know that Hindus meditate on over 330, not 100, not 1,000, million forms of God? 330 million forms of God. One could ask, why so many gods with so many arms and so many legs? Why such diversity of form? Well, it seems that diversity of form is very important to understand the divine. As the ancient Hindu text, the Bhishma Samhita says, without a form, how can God be meditated upon? Where will the mind fix itself? Therefore, the wise will meditate on some form, remembering, however, that the form is a superimposition and not reality. As the Athavara Veda says, Ganesha is the one alone. In him all deities become one. So all the 330 million deities become one in Ganesha. Well, the elephant head symbolizes this type of thing, that there's a supreme reality of existence. At the same time, his body represents that we have been one with God and we took form, just like Ganesha did. He took form in a human little boy that grew up into a man form. So being both elephant and human symbolizes a divinity vast enough to contain all the contradictions of the entire universe. The elephant trunk curls to the left, and this symbolizes to people in India the letter Om, because the letter Om, if you've seen it written, we have it around here on one of the tables. It looks just like the elephant's trunk. So according to Hindu teachings, the sound of Om came through medieval, prehistory, dark waters and resulted in the creation of the whole cosmos. As energy escaped from the darkness and became light, it said that Ganesha appeared, silhouetted against the darkness as the light of heaven dawning on earth. And he came blowing a conch shell. We have a big horn that's blown similar in the Hebrew tradition, but that is how creation, it said, came about, by the sound of Om coming through the conch shell. Do you notice any similarity here when you think about Ganesha embodying all physical forms, that he is the Word made flesh, the Word of creation in bodily form? Does that ring any bells? How about John chapter 1 in the New Testament? And the Word became flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him are all things made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him is life, and that life is the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness cannot withstand it. Very, very similar. Another aspect of Ganesha, as you heard me say earlier, is that he rides on a mouse. So that's kind of strange. As Ganesha's trunk may curl into the Om, representing the highest form of spiritual enlightenment, his riding on the mouse is similar to Jesus, the king, riding in on a donkey. Because in Hinduism, the mouse represents the lowest form of consciousness, or the ego. So the mouse can also connote a thief who roams around in the darkness of our unconscious, stealing away, gnawing away at our tranquility. Other interpretations of the mouse exalt it a little bit more. They see it as a representative of Agni, which is the great fire god who dances between the three worlds of ignorance, materialism, and enlightenment. So the mouse as Agni becomes Ganesha's steed, enabling consciousness, human consciousness, to evolve from the lowest state to the highest. That's why he rides the mouse. In recent times, the mouse, Mushika, it's called, has helped once again to lead the way into new beginnings. Techno Ganesha was unveiled at a big computer conference in 2005. It's a type of computer that is Ganesha with the mouse. And India's leader, a woman named Jayalalita, speaking at this huge event, praised Ganesha and his mouse for once again opening the way and removing the obstacles to the Indian people acquiring the rewards of the new world. She said to a huge audience as they were applauding, "Today, governance stands reinvented once more as e-governance at the click of the ubiquitous mouse." One other part of Ganesha is that he has a serpent wrapped around him. Well, the serpent, as you might remember, is the Kundalini energy. So the Kundalini energy resides at the base of our spines, and it also is at the base of Ganesh. But Ganesh also sits at it's called the Muladhara chakra, at the base of our spines. He's the gatekeeper of that place. So that great power, that great energy, Kundalini energy coming forth, is guarded by Ganesha. And the purpose of that is because Ganesha wants to make sure that everything is done in love and compassion. So power, in other words, is regulated by love, by Ganesha. All through the centuries, yogis and tantric practitioners in India have prayed to Ganesha that this great Kundalini force that is present in humans would be used properly on planet Earth. Ganesha texts say that those with pure intentions who succeed in awakening the Kundalini in a sacred manner in these times are twice blessed, because we have found enlightenment in the time of the Kali Yuga. that brings me to the final thing I wanted to share with you about Ganesha, which is that in 1995, I lived in Santa Fe, and I went to a crystal bowl meditation ceremony. And I had never heard really of Ganesha very much or thought about Ganesha, nor was he really being talked about that night. But as I sat in that crystal bowl meditation in a beautiful small temple there in Santa Fe, Ganesha came to me in an amazing way. I felt him. I heard his name. I heard him calling me. He said, "I am coming back to planet Earth. I'm coming in a very full way, and I want you to serve me." And I started to cry. I didn't know what this meant. And I was amazed to be contacted by Ganesha when I didn't even know Ganesha. But it was a very strong feeling. Then in this book, this week, I found this story. Some Hindus are convinced that Ganesha returned to cleanse the world in 1995. Skeptics may smile at such a naive faith, but on September 21st, 1995, the British newspaper, the Manchester Guardian, reported an extraordinary occurrence. It all began at dawn in a temple on the outskirts of Delhi, India, when milk offered to a statue of Ganesha just disappeared into thin air. Word spread so quickly throughout India that soon thousands were offering milk to the gods and watching in amazement as it disappeared. Life in India was brought to a virtual standstill as people rushed to the temples. At one of Delhi's largest temples, the Birla Mandir, Pandit Sundaral was just coming on duty at 5:30 a.m. when he got a call telling him of the miracle in the suburbs. He says, "I went and took a spoon of milk and put it into Ganesha's mouth. He drank it, and the spoon became empty. Then I gave Shiva a drink too." Traffic in Delhi was halted as police struggled to control the crowds who gathered outside of hundreds of temples with jugs and saucepans of milk for the marble statues of Ganesha. All across Delhi, society ladies with silver jugs and tumblers full of milk were standing alongside uneducated laboring women in mile-long queues awaiting their turn. At one Delhi temple, a priest said more than 5,000 people visited the temple. "We're having a hard time managing the crowds." A Delhi housewife who had waited 2 hours to feed the white marble statue of Ganesh said, with tears rolling down her cheeks, "The evil world is coming to an end, and maybe the gods are coming to help us." As eyewitnesses throughout the country reported accounts of Hindu statues drinking milk, the Indian stock market and then the federal government closed down. People were all deserting their desks to feed Ganesha. Milk became in short supply. The Indian Rationalist Society heaped scorn on the general gullibility, accusing the Indians of lacking scientific temperaments. But these warnings were ignored, and even the cynics joined in the long queues. "It's unbelievable," one said. "My friends told me about it, and I just thought it was rubbish," said a Delhi businesswoman. "But then I did it myself, and I swear the spoon was emptied." Parmesh Sati, a company executive, was convinced it was a miracle. "It cannot be a hoax," he said. "Where would all that milk go? It just disappeared in front of my eyes." One last thing the Manchester Guardian noted at the end of the day. The media coverage was extensive, and though scientists and experts create theories of capillary absorption and mass hysteria, the overwhelming evidence and conclusion was that an unexplainable miracle had occurred. While the media and scientists still struggle to find an explanation for these events, many Hindus believe that it is a sign that a great teacher has been reborn. The miracle of Ganesha, ending the age of evil. We must meet and encounter the divine intimately in our midst. Forms come to humans as a way to focus on the magnificence and incomprehensible made manifest to us. Jesus, Ganesha, We are so thankful to you. Thankful to you for showing us that God is good and for attempting to explain yourself to us. We open our hearts to know you and to love you back. I'd like to guide you right now in a short meditation that leads you into meeting Ganesha in your own heart, in the temple of your own heart. So yes, get comfortable in your chair. Feel your hips sitting on the chair and your feet on the floor. Begin to take some long, slow, deep breaths, inviting your mind and your body to come together just as it does in Lord Ganesha. Invite the wisdom of your elephant mind and the wisdom of your joy-seeking body to come together right now. As you take some deep breaths,
imagine yourself getting on an airplane right now. It might even have Ganesha on the side of it. Setting out on a journey. Yes, you're packing lightly. You're just taking a carry-on bag. No obstacles and no heavy weights. Imagine yourself getting on this airplane and flying to Delhi, India. Yes, imagine yourself flying over the ocean and landing in Delhi now. Dust coming up behind the airplane as it lands, and then you hear yourself, "Welcome to India." Come, let's go to the Ganesh temple together. Imagine yourself now walking through the streets, the busy streets, the crowded streets, the dusty streets, commotion all around you, getting tipped and turned here and there as you're making your way to the big Ganesh temple. You see women and children rushing along, you see merchants along the way. Everyone seems to be happy and excited because it's Ganesha's birthday. You hear music, you hear laughter, and you see some giant statues of Ganesha coming down the street, tipping and turning and jostling. Big Ganesha, balloons of Ganesha, statues of Ganesha everywhere. You make your way into the temple, to the beautiful temple with big giant Ganesha statues, and you wend your way back through the temple, and there are beautiful curtains hanging, and you can smell the incense. Sounds, sights, smells. You're in a very sacred place. And you pull the curtain apart, and you find yourself in a small room, a little room in the temple. It's all decorated in reds and oranges. There's beautiful fruit and flowers on the small altar with a statue of Ganesha there. The most beautiful Ganesha you can imagine. Imagine what color it is, what shape. See its tusk. How many arms does it have? How many legs? What does your Ganesha look like? And as you kneel down in front of Ganesha, you look up, and to your amazement, Ganesha's eyes open. And real eyes, elephant eyes, are looking out at you. And Ganesha starts speaking to you. I've come back. Yes, I have. I'm here. I'm here now in a new way. Not just for the whole planet, but for you. For you. I want you to know how much I love you. How much compassion I have for your life. What obstacles have been in your way? I want to remove them now. Now is the hour. Now is the time. Because I need you freed up. I need you walking your incarnational destiny in a powerful way now. So let me have the obstacles. Be with Ganesha now in silence for a few moments, having your own sweet time, your own sweet encounter with this bringer of liberation. We love you, Ganesha. We thank you. Thank you, Lord Ganesha. Thank you, Lord God of this universe. Thank you, Yeshua. Thank you. Thank you and praise you and thank you. Thank you. As you have laid down your burdens now, let Ganesha show you how your life is to unfold in all goodness now. Let Ganesha give you glimpses of prosperity and abundance and sweetness that are flowing into your life right now. Eternal Ganesha, we know that you are the dancer behind the universe, the one who created all the earth. Let us dance with you now in our imagination. Imagine yourself just dancing with Ganesha and having a really joyful, fun time for a few moments in your imagination. Dancing and dancing with Ganesha. Ganesha never leaves you. Just because we come to the end of this meditation, know that you are better for having traveled to India in your imagination and been with Ganesh for these few moments. And now quickly imagine yourself thanking Ganesha in this little temple room. One last time, turning around and back quickly through the crowds. Boom, 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 boom. Down to the airplane. Down across the ocean. Down to Ashland, Oregon. Life making you very knowing that you are better for having been here today. Yes. So it is. Oh.
Well, as offerings are made in every tradition around the world, our temple here too needs offerings in order to keep going. So we would like to receive your offerings now. And thank you for giving generously. We've been kind of falling behind in what we need to actually make this a viable organism here. So if you could give generously today, it would be much appreciated. We thank you for your generous offerings, knowing that you will be blessed tenfold, it says, when you give to Source.
There's another kirtan, and we have it written down, but it's very, very easy, so you can just all respond to these as we take the offering. Ganesha Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. Sharanam, Sharanam Ganesha. Ganesha
Now we say, Divine love, my love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. So it is. Now we have a real treat for you in closing. We're going to sing that familiar chant, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And we want to, start slowly and then build it. You can stand up in your places now, but we're going to have in the midst of it, a recessional of the altar items. And so, stay where you are until the recessional takes place. And then you can get up and dance and move around and eventually form into our big circle, okay? So here we go into a beautiful Om Namah Shivaya.
Shiva.
officiating this wonderful, wonderful ceremony. We're journeying into India today. So going out from here, know that the obstacles in your life have been removed by the great Lord Ganesha. A new beginning has happened today. The way has been opened by the great elephant riding on a mouse. So what can stand in your way now? Nothing at all. Go forth and eat the prada food. Be blessed with sweets from this ceremony. And as you go out into your life, acknowledge to one another and to everyone you meet that life is very, very sweet.
Follow me, guys. We're coming up the hill. We're going to pick up a gift on the way out.
So that circle come down through